The following video has spoilers for all of the mainline Danganronpa games. You have been warned.
A body has been discovered! After a certain amount of time passes, a class trial will be held!
Hey, I'm AlphiePrime, and I recently played through all the Danganronpa games and I really enjoyed them. I'm also currently consuming some of the spin-off media, but that's besides the point. A main point of Danganronpa is murder mystery. It feels so fun and exciting because the body discoveries are so well done. So today, I'll be counting down my 10 favorite Danganronpa body discoveries. Know that these are my 10 favorites, not really the 10 best. I gave it a bit of thought, but I really just made this list based off which one I like the most. I did not look at every aspect to find the objective best one. I'll be ranking this based on the build-up to the body discovery, how the discovery looks, and how shocking the victim is. Again, this is my list, so a death I may have found shocking might have been someone you knew would die from the very beginning. We're only counting the main games here, no spin-offs, anime, or manga. We're also only counting stuff that's in the actual game, so you're not going to see Yasuhiro's death in the demos, for Trigger Happy Havoc or V3, and we're also only counting real deaths, so we're not going to count Kokichioma's fake death in Chapter 3. So let's start off with number 10. Byakuya Togami's Imposter, the first death in Danganronpa 2. Now we do figure out in Chapter 5 that this isn't actually Byakuya, however we don't know that when this happened since it's the first murder and it's all the way back in Chapter 1. I played 2 right after the first game, and after seeing Byakuya survive that game, I thought he'd survive this time too, or at the very least survive a long time. But instead he died first, which is really shocking to me. I like that there was a blackout before this. Kind of built up the suspense about someone dying. They also mentioned Pekko going missing, which might lead you to believe something happened to her. In fact, I thought Pekko was going to be the one to die first. When the imposter started the party, he seemed a little stingy about security. But once you see this, you realize why he was. He knew someone was going to kill him. I like how the body is face down, so you can't even see the face of agony he had as he died. I also like how it's very bloody, which might be a weird thing to say, but I think it adds to the terrifying nature of the scene. I also like how the bloody knife with green tape looks, even if it's not the actual murder weapon. The picture in my head that popped up when this happened, of someone just stabbing Ultimate Imposter with the knife, is kind of terrifying and gruesome. Now we'll move on to number 9. Sakura Ogami, the death in Chapter 4 of Trigger Happy Havoc. So this happens after we discover Sakura fighting Monokuma, and the fact that she's actually been working with him. Because of that, again, I thought she was going to live a little longer. The fact that she locked the door and you have to break in made things really intense in my experience watching the story. This is the first body discovery that isn't very bloody. And while I do like the bloodier ones, I'd say it works here as it adds to the mystery of the murder weapon. Prior to this, the murder weapons were pretty obvious. The knife for Sayaka, the dumbbell for Chihiro, and the hammers for Hifumi and Taka. But there's not much to go off of for this death. As I said earlier, Danganronpa is about murder mystery, and having the weapon be unknown is a part of the mystery part. I also like how her body is kind of golden shiny. It looks nice. Never thought I'd say that about a corpse. The pure black background is also nice because it helps the body pop out more. I like the fact that there's like barely any color other than the light. It makes it more distinct visually. Now let's move on to number 8. Nekomaru Nidai, another strong character that was killed off in Chapter 4, this time in the second game. So let's talk about what happens before. In Chapter 3, Nekomaru gets blasted while trying to protect Akane and gets sent to the hospital. He misses the trial and we wonder if he ends up okay like Fuyuhiko did or if he won't be as fortunate. Then when he comes back after, I thought he'd be somewhat safe, at least for this chapter, since Fuyuhiko also got sent to the hospital and was safe for Chapter 3. So again, I didn't expect Nekomaru to die. I really like how the camera angle looks for this one. instead of just starting out zoomed in and moving zoom out like many others, they start kind of above the whole thing and it zooms below, which is very cool. And again, makes it stand out visually. I like how the corpse starts more obscured and then becomes more visible when you zoom in. Nekomaru's dead robot face is sad, and I love how they replaced the blood with oil. Honestly, the whole sight of him being taken apart is just horrifying. Number 7. Rantaro Amami, the first victim of V3. Prior to this, Rantaro's talent is unknown, so I thought they would pull a Kyoko and have it revealed much later in the game. And while they did reveal it, he wasn't alive to reveal like I thought he would be. Having the character with such a mystery be the first victim is a great way to subvert expectations. I'll be honest, the visuals are a little basic here. It doesn't stand out too much from other body discoveries, although the blood on the hand and camera are pretty interesting. Yeah, it isn't too interesting visually, but the fact that a character with such a cool mystery died early is really not what I was expecting, so I had to put him on this list. Also, the fact that the ultimate survivor died first is just really funny to me. Number 6. Mukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student lying hidden somewhere in the school, the one they call the ultimate despair. Watch out for her. Anyway, she's the body you discover in Chapter 5 of Trigger Happy Havoc. This is one of the most unexpected victims because the only mention of Mukuro is when Kyoko tells you her name. You never actually see her. So not only do you realize that Mukuro died, you realize that this might be Mukuro. Might. Kyoko also goes missing, so there's also suspicion that she's the victim, since the body's wearing a mask and it explodes before the mask is removed. We don't really know whose body it is until later. There's a bit less build up here, but I think that kind of works here because it makes the body less expected. Also, when I heard about a 16th student, I expected them to be the mastermind or something. I didn't expect them to die next. Camera angles kind of similar to Nekomaru's, which is great, although it doesn't really obscure the body before zooming in. Though I'd say the disguise makes up for it. And the mystery of the victim puts it higher. Number 5. Nagito Komieda, who dies in Chapter 5 of Danganronpa 2. The main thing I like about this is the sheer goriness. He's got a spear in his chest, a knife in his hand, and cuts in his limbs. His eyes look like they're terrified, and his mouth is covered in tape. Also, something I haven't really brought up until now, the sound adds a lot to this. I love how the audio gets kind of distorted at certain parts. This is probably one of the less mysterious victims, as Nagito did go missing and was the only one not throwing fire grenades. But before that, when he's blowing up bombs, I did not expect Nagito to resort to having the traitor kill him to weed him out, or actually have them survive. The scene with everyone throwing fire grenades to put out the fire is really intense, and I'm glad they put this right before the body discovery. Number 4. Kokichiyama. Just to be clear, we're talking about his real death, not the fake one. Right after Nagito is Nagito 2.0, or Nagito.5. Either way, he's Chapter 5's victim in V3. Alright, so you probably know why I have this so high up. I love how they make you think Kaito's the one who died at first by having him sleep outside the press. It really adds to the mystery of the victim, which we don't even find out until the end of the trial. The victim is quite shocking because there are 2 people missing and they make us think that one person's the victim while it's actually the other. I also love how we see the student's reactions before seeing the body. It really builds up the suspense. Another thing that helps build up suspense is the fact that we discover the secret of the outside world, and how the whole outside world is in complete ruin. And the fact that Kokichi Uma revealed himself to be the mastermind despite the fact that he's not. What the fuck is this guy doing? Overall, the mystery of the victim really puts it high on this list. Also, Kokichi deserves to die for all the shit that he's done. Number 3! Kiyotake Ishimaru, one of 2 victims in Trigger Happy Havoc's Chapter 3. The big shock factor comes from the fact that this is the first double murder. So obviously I didn't think there would be another murder after discovering Hifumi's body. Similar to Kokichi, I like how we start out with Makoto's reaction and zooms out to reveal Taka's body. It's not done as well as Kokichi's death, but it still works. Also, in my opinion, this has a great build-up. What's better way to build up a body discovery than another body discovery? Also, the fact that we saw Hifumi's body makes it a lot less obvious Taka would die, since we thought there would only be one. Number 2. Kyoko Saionji. Coincidentally, right after number 3, which is a second body discovery that was killed before the first one in Chapter 3, the same case applies here, but this time it's in the second game. This happens right after we find Ibuki's body. We don't see her body during Ibuki's body discovery since it's wrapped in the wallpaper, but it's there. After finding Ibuki's body, Hajime rushes to find the others to go back to the music venue to trigger the body discovery for Ibuki's body, before finding that the door is locked. After busting through, they enter not only to find Ibuki's hanging body, but also Hyoko's body tied to a pillar. In my opinion, Hyoko wasn't a very obvious victim since the motive to this chapter was despair disease. And since Ibuki had the despair disease, I thought Kani or Nagito would have been the second one to die, since they both had it. But nope, it's Hyoko who did not have the disease. The music that plays while you're exiting the music menu to go find the others to trigger the body discovery for Ibuki and Hyoko is very intense. It really gets the blood pumping, so it's a nice build-up. I also love the visuals for the scene. It starts out on Ibuki's body, making us think, oh, we're having another cutscene just so that the other characters can react to it. Then it zooms out and it pans over to the right to show Hyoko's dead body, which is really unexpected. It does it so fast too, so it really gives you barely any time to think about what's going on. Overall, Hyoko had quite the body discovery, which is why she's second on this list. Before moving on to number 1, I'd like to say some honorable mentions. These honorable mentions are in no particular order. Since we just got done talking about Chapter 3 that's in Danganronpa 2, let's talk about the other one, Ibuki Miyoda. The video playing is a nice thing to put before as it makes you want to rush over. I also appreciate the attempt to add mystery to the victim with the hemp bag, but it kind of falls flat since Ibuki is the only one who has long black hair and wears the gown. The way the body just moves back and forth slowly while hanging on the rope is so unsettling. And the light shining on it is great too. Sayaka Maizano, Chapter 1's victim in the first game. Obviously, there's quite the shock factor here as she's the first victim ever. The reason why she's just an honorable mention is I don't think the build-up is as wonderful, and the visual's kinda standard. I think the camera panned down too quickly. Maybe if it moved a bit slower before showing the body, it could have been better to have more intensity. Mahiru Koizumi, Danganronpa 2's victim in Chapter 2. One thing I really like about this one is that the body discovery announcement plays before you find it, when it normally plays after. It really gets the player wondering who died. It makes them kind of worried too. It makes them rush over when they hear Kazuichi scream. The way the camera moves is also nice, starting with the weapon and moving up to reveal Mahiru's face. The fact that a similar scene appeared in the game that was a motive for Chapter 2 is also fun. Yu Iruma, Danganronpa V3's victim in Chapter 4. Similar to Kokichi's death, I like how this shows the other students' reaction to the victim's body first, but this one happens first, so it's more memorable to me. I know Tenko's death also shows Himiko's reaction, but that's done in a different style, and I don't quite like that style just as much. This also happens right after we exit the ritual world, so it's shocking that the first thing we see after leaving is a dead body. Another thing that stands out to me is that her eyes are open, and so is her mouth. While they're normally closed for the other dead bodies, the open eyes are honestly more terrifying to me than the closed ones. Our final honorable mention is Angie Yanaga, another V3 one, this time in Chapter 3. Not too much to say about this one, but I really like the visual of switching between the 4 effigies before zooming on Angie's body. I also just flat out didn't expect Angie to die. Enough waiting, let's get to number 1. My favorite body discovery is... Ryoma Hoshi, the victim in Chapter 2 of V3. Where do I begin? Well, first off, before this, he mentions finding the will to live. So while I didn't think he'd survive forever, I thought he'd last a long time, or at least longer than just Chapter 2 victim. This was performed during Himiko's magic trick, and Himiko kinda just disappears, so I thought she'd be the one to die. Ryoma popping up is just out of nowhere, which is really great. It made for a great build-up. What sells it to me is the visual. The piranhas swarming around and Ryoma's body just becoming a skeleton with little shreds of clothes is so nerve-wracking. Like something terrifying is happening, but you just can't look away. The way the body goes from somewhat intact to nothing but bones is fantastic. I also love the water going from blue to pinkish red, and of course the piranha swimming away from the skeleton while it sinks to the ground slowly. The skull slightly moving at the end was a nice touch too. The sound of piranhas at the beginning is already unsettling, and the sound of them surrounding Ryoma's body and eating it is quite nerve-wracking. Another thing that helps is the length. This is one of the most longest body discoveries, might even be the longest, and it so barely gives you time to process everything, which in my opinion is really good. And in my opinion, it's overall just really intense and also really cool looking, and in my opinion, it's cooler than some of the executions, honestly. But there you have it, my 10 favorite Danganronpa body discoveries. If you have a different ranking, tell me in the comments below, as well as any body discoveries you disliked. Danganronpa is a really great game series, and the body discoveries really add to the experience. And that's all of it. See you soon! Hey, thanks for watching that video! Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out my Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Discord, and Instagram. Also, don't forget to check out my channel 3 Peeps, a channel I host alongside Shelly and J-Vortex. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Reddit, Discord, and Instagram. Thank you.